Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to each one of you as we gather here for another great session on the Expert Insight Series of the VWC platform. Visionary Women's Circle is a premium platform, a subsect of the WEDO community, aimed at fostering a dynamic and mutually beneficial ecosystem for our members, mentors, advisors, and corporate supporters. This ecosystem aims to facilitate meaningful connections, knowledge exchange, and collaborative ventures. The circle seeks to empower its members through various initiatives and activities, with a focus on thought leadership and innovation, relationship cultivation, business engagements and collaborations, etc., where members can grow, learn, collaborate, and thrive in their respective fields, ultimately contributing to a stronger, more interconnected professional community. I welcome you once again to our Visionary Women's Circle Expert Insight Series. We have with us today Ms. Roopa Joshirao, the Director of Financial and Global and Reporting Global Business at Colgate Palmolive Limited. Roopa Joshirao, the strategic financial leader, is a seasoned financial professional with over 17 years of diverse leadership experience with global MNCs, specializing in optimizing financial operations and driving costs and process efficiency. With extensive industry exposure across pharma, dyes chemicals, and FMCG sectors, Rupa has demonstrated exceptional cultural and diversity sensitivity and successfully lead international projects across multiple countries like US, South Africa, Poland, Thailand, and Vietnam. With a keen eye for detail and a strategic mindset, Rupa excels in stewarding customized costing and fixed asset model structures, ensuring accuracy and efficiency in financial reporting. Her expertise extends to various sectors, where she navigates industry specific challenges and drives sustainable growth. Renowned for establishing robust internal control frameworks and financial governance protocols through Sarbanes Oxley reporting, that's SOX, Rupa instills confidence in stakeholders and safeguards organizational assets. A natural collaborator, Rupa fosters cross functional relationships and cultivates a culture of collaboration and innovation. Her subject matter expertise in the product costing, inventory control, and plant controllership, combined with a commitment to mentorship, makes her a valuable asset in driving organizational success and nurturing talent within the team. Rupa's holistic approach, leadership skills, and dedication to excellence positions her as a trusted advisor and a catalyst for growth in any organization. Her extensive core competencies and expertise in various financial aspects emphasize leadership skills, adaptability, and a strong focus on fostering relationships and driving results. She is a member of the Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of India, and has completed an executive course in strategic finance from the Indian Institute of Lucknow. Additionally, as a member of POSH and DE&I committee, Rupa holds a rich experience in team handling, people development, and mentoring her team members. Welcome, Rupa. It's an absolute privilege to have you with us this evening with such a crucial topic, cost accounting, which plays a vital role in as it provides essential insights to the financial health and the efficiency of the business operations that helps entrepreneurs make informed decisions and achieve long-term success. So, welcome, Rupa, and good evening to you. Rupa, can you hear us? Rupa? Friends, I understand there's some technical glitch and we should have Rupa with us in just a couple of minutes. Rupa, are you able to hear us? I think there's some technical issue and her screen is frozen, so we're just trying to get her back. So, friends, stay tuned with us. Yes, I think we lost Rupa, but she will join us back in some time. So, friends, today is the real time where we have a wonderful topic, a subject with us, which is completely covering the financial costings. And I really invite you all to come up with your questions. We have a wonderful presentation to be shared by our mentor today, and she will talk in depth about the financial costing and its importance and the strategies that we really need to consider when making our business goals, or rather entrepreneurship startup. So we will have her soon with us. And yes, in the meantime, you can already start thinking on your questions, and you can keep them ready, because we'll have her soon back on stage with us, and she will give her insights. So we would have Rupa. Yes, we she is joining us in a minute. I just got a confirmation, and she is joining us in a minute. So, yes, this is a very important day today for us, and a very important session that we all women entrepreneurs look forward to, because I think this is a very important topic about the financial health, and this is going to help us set our uh, view, or rather our the way we want to function, and the parameters that we need to really consider when we are going to be making our budgets or our plans. And that's where her expertise will give us a proper guidance. And so I think through this platform, friends, VWC, the Visionary Women's Circle, gives us these opportunities to connect with such kind of uh, mentors, where they come forward to guide us, to handhold us, and to tell us what exactly needs to be done, and what way right it can be done. So that's again a very important element that VWC as a platform is bringing to all you women entrepreneurs. So do check us out. Our website is visionarywomencircle.com. That's our website, and you can always visit the website and look for the details. And I invite you all to be a part of this Vision Womenry Circle, because this is a kind of platform which gives you not only a platform to connect with like-minded people, but also reach out to your own business connects, and also look for the kind of guidance, or if you are also one of those who can or are looking to help other women entrepreneurs. And that's when this is the right platform for you, where you can look at basically being a part, active part of bringing the women entrepreneur community forward, and really empowering women, empowering each other, and building a wonderful community for women entrepreneurs. So friends, I'm really sorry for this technical glitch. Yes, there is a little problem with the internet connection, and Rupa is really trying hard to join us. And I am getting, and yes, it's wonderful that she is managed to, the net is being kind. I think we should say this in this today's environment. This is the internet plays a crucial role when we have these kind of really important sessions. And so I think just a matter of few seconds, and Rupa should be with us, joining and live with her presentations and what she has to really share today, the wonderful strategies and the important strategies, which is going to help us make some wonderful decisions, and help us do the entire working of how our business, and of course those small elements that we need to look at, or rather consider, when we want to really make that kind of budget, or understand how the resource, how the allocation of our resources, which is the vitamin M, the vitamin money that we really talk about, because that is the really strategic and the correct approach of our money, or the costing that would go inside a startup, or your entrepreneurial journey, is what is we are looking forward to today. So yes, this is a session that we should look up to. And I would now invite, so Rupa, can you hear us now?
I
Can we
can.
have you on? Perfect. Rupa, we can't see you. If it's possible for you to uh, you know really come on camera,
Sure.
so that our audience
So, yeah, unfortunately, I am facing the challenges today.
okay.
Camera, can you see me?
Lovely, lovely, fantastic, Rupa. Audience is really waiting for you. And yes, we just had a little introduction about you and about VWC. So now I will not take much of time, and I would now happily hand over the floor to you. So, yes, over to you, Roopa. Roopa Joshirao, guys, Director of Accounting and Reporting at Colgate Global Business Services, for us to give us some wonderful insights about the financial costing. So, Roopa, over to you, and I'm always there in case you need any help.
Hi everyone. So Swapna, if you can help me share the slides. So thank you very much. And I think from last time to this time, ambiguity is something which has remained the same. It has remained the constant, and I think, but we being prepared for that is also which has been constant. You can move to the next slide, Swapna, and I would like to introduce myself. Would you move to the next slide? Yeah, thank you. So, hello everyone. I am Roopa Joshirao. This is a quick introduction. I think Swapna has already spoken a lot about me, and I'm already on cloud 9. So, thanks very much, Swapna, for that. And as you said, yes, I'm a cost and I'm an also alumni of IIM Lucknow. 17 years of post qualification industry experience, and majorly they have FMCG. So, what next about me? So, something to share about me is I really hold a curious mindset, which means I ask a lot of questions. They can be stupid, they can be smart, they can be short, they can be small or big. And I encourage today all of you to also ask questions to the extent possible. So when you ask questions, you also need to listen them, right? So that makes me a patient listener, which makes me understand what I have asked and to get the answers. And finally, helps me to join the dots of various topics which we tend to understand. And I think costing is also a wide arena of learning and knowledge, which we will surely talk in a small span now. And yeah, that's all about me. So, yes, Swapna, thank you. If we can move to the next slide, please. Okay. So, when we were talking about financial costing today, so the question as what to build as a content was there, right? So, what to share it up as. Now, to start these or in this today's session, let us touch base upon some basic things or basic questions of curiosity, which is why, how, when, what, where, right? And what I will be doing is I will be talking based on these questions today and covering this entire topic. And of course, this will be a very interactive session. So I will be asking, I can't hear you, or I can't listen you, but I surely we can read you and we will take it forward. So what we will be covering today is to understand first the basic question as why do I need to know the costing? Why do I need to know the cost of a product? Moving further, we will of course understand how do I calculate the cost of a product, and after which comes once I know why and how, when do I calculate it? What is the right time or right period to calculate it? And lastly, once I have gathered all these knowledge, how can I really be cost effective? So these would be some areas which I would like to cover today. So, yes, thanks a lot, Swapna. If we can move to the next slide, please. Okay. So before we move to the slide, maybe Swapna, please go back, and I have a general question to all the audience here. Why do you think we need to know the cost? And maybe Swapna, you can help me read the answers.
Yes, so I think a lot of our audience, Rupa is of the opinion that I think cost is a parameter because at the end of it, when any entrepreneur is trying to set up the own startup or a business, so of course the end goal or the end purpose or a vision is to, of course, what am I getting out of it, or rather what is the revenue that I am looking at it, or what am I getting out of it. So to understand what my earning would be could also be the primary parameter that why I need to know that at what price can I sell the product for me to make that kind of money.
Very true. Nice, nice.
Yes.
That's a nice insight, Swapna.
Yes.
Have you received any other answers?
Uh, not as of now. Not as of now. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. So maybe we can move on to the next slide then. Yeah. So, as we see here, the primary reason for knowing a cost is first understanding what is my real profit or the margin. Now, to give you an example, I had some of my, known people who were supposed to start with some idli vada batter business, right? Now, just a common logic question that if I want to know the selling price of what I should sell this at, do you think it will be a difficulty to know it? Maybe not, because I can go in the market, I can fetch up, I can have an understanding which locality am I selling my product, which area am I selling my product, how much is the market rate there, what is the next shop vendor selling it at, and I can fix up my selling price. But how do I come to know what is my real profit or my margin? Will the cost that the person doing or preparing this idli in a restaurant and the one who is doing on the streets or the one who is doing in a shop be the same? No, it may not be, right? It will be different because there are different factors, of course, which we will see now. So considering that, if the cost is going to vary, my profits are going to vary. It will not be the same for everyone. And that's how it becomes first to know as what is my real profit or what is my real margin. The next which comes up is it really helps me know where am I spending my cost. Am I spending it on the right bucket or the right portion, or am I having a cost leakage? Am I spending it somewhere where should I not? So knowing my cost, knowing the cost structure actually help us understand the right plat or the right area where the cost needs to be spent. Once I come to know what is my margin, once I come to know the breakup as where am I spending the cost, the next is where do I stop spending where I do not need to, or what could be the efficiency areas right where I can really generate that efficiency or reduce my cost. Finally, why to do all these things? What would be the main last purpose of knowing all this, all the bottom line of the pyramid? So I think these are some of the preliminary factors one should be aware or be knowledgeable about cost when we speak about any business or any entrepreneurship. So yeah, thanks, Swapna. I mean, with that, maybe we can go to the next slide. If there are any questions, I'm open to take also.
Sure, Rupa. I mean, as and when the questions would come in, I will certainly sound you off. But I think for now, we can continue with the next slide.
Okay, sure. So, yeah, now answering the first question, we will cover up all these topics today. I think when we read it, like components of cost of a product or a service, nature of each cost component, type of expenses, whether they are recurring expenditures or capital expenditures, and then let's finally see how a structured cost can be built up. Okay, so find pretty complex as I read them. Maybe for some people who are looking it at, I mean, having an idea about cost for the first time or understanding in depth for the first time. But let's make it more easy as we move towards the next slide. So, yeah, thank you, Swapna. As we move towards the next slide, I think the first thing I would want to call out is today we all have women entrepreneurs here, and a big loud of applause to all of you. And I would say that women who are close to the kitchen, who are the closest to the kitchen, are the best to understand the costing structure. And you will know this in a short while. So before we go to this slide, can we play on the video YouTube link, Swapna, if you don't mind?
I am playing the video now.
Is it audible to everyone?
Yes, Rupa.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Swapna. Okay. Now, so if we reflect, I mean, what was the purpose of showing that video to all of us, right? So the purpose to see that cost is in our kitchen, somewhere sitting in our kitchen only, and that is why we started with this video of making a roti. Now, if we look at this video, I had a question to the audience. If you can read the reply, Swapna, what were the different components being used in this preparation, in this entire roti preparation?
Yes.
Any
So I think,
answers? If you see,
yeah, probably it might take a little time, for people to definitely
okay,
come back. But I think to begin with, of course, we had some oil, we had some salt, we had some atta, and so
exactly.
these were and water, of course, without which the kneading is not possible. So that's something which constitutes the entire dough that we make for making the roti.
Thank
And
you so much.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
But
exactly.
people
So
also had
yeah,
to
yeah,
say
please
that
go ahead.
people also had to say that, of course, are the other components like the tawa and the gas and the rolling pin also considered to be the components? So yes, that's
That's
also
That's a wonderful question which has come up, and that is something which I'll really include. So, yes, as you rightly said, to find the cost of the roti, I need to know what is the raw material cost which is went in, and which is, of course, the flour, the water, the oil, which in other terms we also called it as direct cost, which means something which is directly associated to the product. And that's how the raw material cost first peeps in, followed by the conversion cost. Now, when we say conversion, it means basically the form in which from the dough to the final roti is a sort of conversion which happens. Now, what are the steps which come under this conversion? So, they basically are the labor cost. So, if you have a maid who is there, if you are a housewife, of course, there is no labor cost. But if I have a maid, the cost which I'm paying to her, the wages which are being paid to her are again my conversion cost. The overheads, that is the fuel cost which goes up there, the gas which we use, right? That is something which comes as the overheads. And again, it is a direct cost. Why? Because it is something which is related to or associated directly with the products. Now there are also other overheads. So what are they? And I mean, if you see, other overheads comprises of the depreciation. So when whoever asked that question, it was fantabulous. The the rolling pin, right? Swapna, would you
yes, Rupa.
presentation completely? Hence, I'm asking.
Sorry.
I can't see the presentation completely. I see my tagline below. If is there a possibility to see the whole presentation?
Okay, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, is this
Perfect.
fine?
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It helps. So yeah, so the depreciation cost is something which is again should be added. So the rolling pin and the tawa, they are capital assets, right? We'll talk about them too, but which are called as indirect cost. So depreciation is something which comes as an indirect cost, and in real scenarios, when I'll be selling the roti, or I'm handling the roti manufacturing, of course there comes the selling cost, the distribution, the market, the administration cost, which all happens to be indirect cost, because that they are needed to have the final product into the market, right? So again, if we envisage the picture on the left and we read what are the components on the right, one was the raw material, which means there was flour, water, and oil, which is also the direct cost. Then came the conversion cost, that is, if I have to change the form from dough to roti, what are all they are labor cost and fixed cost and the fuel cost, right, which comes under the overheads. And the depreciation of the rolling pin and the tawa is also something which needs to be added. And additionally, if we are making it on a large scale or for a selling purpose, the other indirect costs, which are selling, distribution, marketing, also forms part of the cost components. Hope this was interesting and this was close to all of you watching there, all the women entrepreneurs.
Very relatable, Rupa. Absolutely, because this is a very basic example that you give. Because I think every woman is very closely connected to the kitchen and, of course, to the roti making. Because I think that's the basic survivor of our livelihood. So I think yes,
Indian households. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely, it's a very important, relatable example that you've shared with us.
Thank you so much. So taking it forward, if we go further, Swapna, yes. So I wanted to also talk. So whenever we talk about cost, right, we need to know what type of spends we are going to make. So in any industry, there are two type of spends which normally happen predominantly. So one is the recurring expenses and one is the one time or the capital expenses. So in this particular example, when I say recurring expenses, it means the floor, the water, the oil. This is something which I will be using it on a recurring basis, right? It's not a one time basis. So every day I will be using it, and as it finishes, I will buy again and I'll go back, purchase it again. So they are recurring. Capital is something they are one time spends. So we use it for a long term, like the bowl, the pan, the rolling pin, the rolling board. Of course, I mean, as they depreciate, as you can't utilize it fully, we go for new one. But they are one time expenditures which we bought, at least say for the next 6 months or 7 months. So their cost, how are we considering in our cost components? As we said, it was through the depreciation, right? We cannot take the entire cost of pan in making one roti. We will have to spread it across of how many maximum rotis I can make from that pan or the pin. So recurring expenses and capital expenses are something which comes in every businesses. So one needs to know which are my recurring, because recurring are normally the variable expenses, and capital expenses are something which are going to be fixed. The depreciation cost is going to be fixed for some period of time. uh, there is also one more concept when we talk about cost, which, as I said, they are fixed overheads and the variable overheads. So, the earlier slide where we saw that the cost was on raw material, conversion cost, fuel cost, wages, right, and the depreciation and other fixed cost. So here what happens is the salary I will be giving to the maid, the depreciation that comes from the equipments that are used, the utilities like the fan which is running or the light which is on, you are going to incur those expenses irrespective of the number of rotis you make. Even if you make one, you make 10, you are going to incur them, right? But the raw material, the gas which you used, the oil which you used, it's variable. It is variable depending on the count of rotis that you prepare. If you prepare one, you're going to use less. If you prepare 10, you're going to use more, right? So these are certain concepts which one should be aware of when you are calculating the cost. Why you should be aware of, we will talk about it in the future slides. So thank you. So with all these fundamentals and all these whatever concepts are, we come to building a structured cost build. Okay, so as I said, to know the cost of any product, the first thing that goes into it is the raw material and the packing material. So I need to know what is my raw material cost and what is my packaging material cost, followed by what is the conversion cost. So when we say conversion, what are the costs involved in conversion? They are the labor cost, the fuel cost, which comes into conversion. Conversion basically changing the form. In manufacturing industries, we say it as converting from semi-finished goods to finished goods. That is the conversion journey. Then comes the depreciation. So as we said, all the one-time expenses which we cater to manufacture the product, we will apportion the cost of that to the product in the form of depreciation expenses. Because capital expenses, you can't load it everything. Okay, I bought the rolling pin this year, I will load it everything in this month. No, you will have to load it periodically based on how many the product, whatever the quantity you prepare. Next, if you think about the manufacturing sector, the freight and warehousing. So I manufactured the product. Now I need to keep it somewhere, right? I need to have the product kept somewhere. Where I'll be keeping it? I will be keeping it in the warehousings. Now, of course, the warehousing is not free of cost. It comes with a cost. So that is also something to be added. Next to it comes the freight. When I manufacture a product and I have to send it to the seller or the distributor, wherever, whoever is my next buyer, I there is a freight expense that comes along with it. Then comes the admin, selling, and marketing. So these are those expenses which are not directly related to the manufacturing of the product, but they are essential for knowing what I need to manufacture, how much I need to manufacture. So people sitting in the marketing, the selling, the distribution, they are the people who find out what is my market demand. And based on that is what we decide how much I need to manufacture. So, although they are indirect, they contribute to the cost of the product. And if you see a structured build, that is how these components need to be laid one by one. Once we total up all the cost, we also need to know what is my cost per unit. So as we took the example of the idli manufacturing, we need to know what is the cost of per idli, right? And to know that, I need to divide the total cost with my maximum capacity, whatever I can produce. So be it my roti or be it my idli from the idli stand, whatever it is, I need to know what's the maximum capacity I produce, and so I divide it by that and I get the per unit cost. So hope, I mean, this is made easier and it's not that complex.
No, no, absolutely. I think it's a real eye opener because I think you've meticulously listed each component that needs to be considered when it really comes to a product manufacturing, or how you derive to a cost. That's very important. So I think this is pretty elaborate and very easy to understand. So I think it's a very simple language, I would say. So
Thank you, thank you. I'm sure, I mean, we don't know there is a blend of audience here who might
yes,
be already doing this,
yes,
and there will be surely some people who know it, but maybe sometimes you have a question as how we structure it. So
true.
yeah.
That's where I think these things, because of course we have a broader picture, to be very honest, that there are components that you need to consider when coming to deriving a cost, but what all is not to miss is also important, that we calculate that, so that we get a correct picture, a real picture, and not the one. So I think, yeah, these components are really really helpful for that.
Very, very true. And that's how now we come to know that, how are we sold? How is the selling price decided? What are the margins decided? Yeah, Swapna, we can move to the next slide, please. Okay. So let me also take you through a very traditional cost sheet. So the earlier slide, it spoke about what are normally all the cost components of, okay, what are the costs we should consider, we should not miss. Now, if you see this cost sheet, you see how the final selling price is derived at. Basically, what all components are considered to derive at the final selling price. So, as we said, the direct material purchased, we spoke about it. Then we also need to add up the opening stock of raw material, because I'm purchasing raw material, I'm purchasing some things, but I also have some of my existing stock. So I need to add the value of that stock less the value of the stock which is already lying with me. I mean, the closing stock, right? So I had something in my opening, I bought something, and then I have some stock and which I will be consuming now. After I consume, there will be some quantity which will be left over. So that is something I reduce and I derive at my material consumed for that particular month. What I add to it? I add to it my direct wages, direct expenses, which is called as the primary cost or the direct cost, because it is related directly to the manufacturing of that product. Then comes the factory overheads. So something which is related directly to the factory. Of course, nowadays many of us have different location, right? The factory is at a different location and the admin office is at different location. So direct wages, direct expenses, but there are also other factory overheads like the electricity expenses in the factory, other people sitting, the salaries which we are paying to other people or managerial staff sitting in the salary, maybe not directly labor, but there are managerial people also. So they are certain examples of the factory overheads that will add up. Once we add up, we come to the cost of manufacturing till the factory stage. Now in the factory, again, as I said, costing is all about also looking the conversions, right? There is a continuous conversion that is happening from raw material to a middle stage, from the atta to the dough, and then from the dough to a chapati. So when I say raw materials, it is the atta, and when I say the dough, it is something which is whip, the work in progress, and the last stage is called as finished goods. So if I have some opening stock of that dough, I will add that. And after I prepare the rotis, if something is left over, it is something which is subtracted. That is the closing stock of the whip. And thereby I derive at my works cost. That okay, this is final thing. Now, as I said, I will go on adding the administrative cost, the other costs which are not directly related to the manufacturing process, which is admin, selling and distribution. And now again, as we said, we have come to the finished good stage. So I need to add back again what was the opening stock of finished good I had with me, and after whatever I sold, what is the closing stock that I'm having, and that makes me come to my cost of sales. And my selling price is something which I know, and of course the balance is the profit margin. So this happens to be a very traditional cost sheet as prepared to come to the margin of a product or margin of your company or the organization. Now if you see how this cost is spread in a normal setup or corporate setup, where we also have to see the balance sheet and the P&L, we can see it in the next slide. uh, yeah, thank you. So normally in a normal setup where we are also reviewing balance sheets and profit and loss, first we'll see on the right hand side the profit and loss. It starts with the sales, which is coming by the selling price, less the cost of goods sold. So when we say the cost of goods sold, it comprises of everything which we spoke till the direct cost, right? The direct cost to manufacture the product and the variable cost to manufacture the product. Once you reduce this, you come to the margins. After that, we reduce our other fixed overheads, like the salary which is being paid to the people. It is not going to change irrespective of whatever I produce, right? So there are certain overheads like that. The selling distribution overheads, which are our indirect expenses basically, and then we derive to the net profit. Now, in the cost sheet, we saw the components of finished goods, semi-finished goods, raw material, right? So if we correlate it with the balance sheet, of course, inventory is a part of my balance sheet, right? Because inventory is not part of my profit and loss. Profit and loss is something which is as of to date. What is my sale, what is my COGS, and what is my profit? But if we see the balance sheet, inventory is a part of balance sheet. So whatever per unit cost I derive multiplied by the count of inventory which I have parts the form of my balance sheet, where we see all whatever is left, the closing stocks of my finished goods, my semi-finished goods, raw material, and pack material form the part of my balance sheet. So, Swapna, if any questions, I'm ready to stop and answer
No, I mean,
because I
as of now,
understand
to
that
at least people are
slightly ahead.
really trying to understand and grab the entire information. So I think, probably maybe once we have the complete thing, then we will have questions. So for now, we can go ahead with the
Super. I understand completely that these can be heavy topics, but maybe from an entrepreneurial mindset, uh, I would first say is, leave this aside. First, focus on all the previous slides which we spoke, which is knowing what your cost is. Whether I am adding up all the relevant factors for my cost would be something which we should focus on. So if I move to the next, so once I know how do I calculate the cost, uh, I need to know when do I calculate the cost. So yeah, first let's look at the left hand side. Cost is always future oriented. Okay. So why am I need to calculate the cost? I need to calculate the cost so that I know what is the selling price I can set up in the future. So normally, even in the corporates, we do the budgets, we set up the standard cost a year before. Okay, so whatever I'm planning to sell the next year, I need to know the cost today. So that is how even if we take in a routine business or normal entrepreneurship also, whatever I'm going to sell tomorrow, for that I need to know the cost. So make your cost always future oriented. So, as I said, budget, standard cost are some aspects which help us to think future oriented costing. Now, once I know that I have fixed the cost of my product, say for the example, roti, if I decide that I will manufacture a roti next year at 1 rupee per unit, if that is decided, but you cannot stop there. When I enter the next year, I will have to continuously keep on monitoring it, right? Wherein I will understand what is my variation going on. So if say next year I enter and I see that my variation is coming to 1.5 per unit, I need to know where is that 1.5 incremental am I spending it. And for that, we need to refer the previous slide where we had bucketed all our cost, right? What is in my raw material, what is in my packing material, okay, what is in my direct, what is in my indirect. So if you have a comparison of what you had budgeted versus what is the actual, you come to know where actually you are spending more. Right now we are talking all about how I can become efficient in monitoring the cost. We are coming to that stage now slowly. So even when you are future oriented, right, if we take the same example of preparing the roti, next year if I want to decide what the price of my roti will be, I need to think whether the price of oil and wheat, is it going to increase with whatever the inflation. How much is the increase going to be? Is there any deviation that is going to happen in the commodity market of oil or wheat? Okay, I need to consider that if I have to think of my cost for the next year. Next comes is, will I need to have some incremental cost with my wages that I will be paying to my labor. So if this year I'm paying X, next year for sure I'm going to pay X plus Y. So I need to anticipate that okay, the cost of my labor is going to increase. Is my family going to go big? My if my son is going to get married, his wife, his children, which means my consumption quantity is going to increase, which means my count of raw material is going to increase, which means of course, my cost is going to increase a little, right? Then comes, we speak about the procurement quantity. So normally what happens is that if my consumption is going to increase, I will buy more, and then I can decide the minimum order quantity. That now normally it happens in all the household, right? We go and buy 10 kilo of gehu. Some of us do buy 1 kilo, but why do we buy 10 kilo of gehu? It is like a minimum order quantity, because we know if I buy 10 kilo today, whatever the fluctuations in the prices are going to happen, I know I have bought it at one standard price, right? So I have a control over that. So that is how I can anticipate what are the costs which are going to come, and then to become more efficient I can think of how can I reduce the fixed cost. So in this roti preparation process itself, what were my fixed cost? Maybe the fuel cost which is running in the background, or you can take the wages cost which was running. So these are certain fixed costs. So can I make more rotis out of the cost which I am bearing today? Is something which will make us think to be more efficient. So again, I mean, to summarize this, what I would say is, when you always think of cost should be future oriented, and also cost should be current, so that you know what I had planned for and what am I actually getting the cost today. So that the variances is something you keep on monitoring, and then you know where my loopholes are, where my spillage is actually happening. How to be cost efficient? There are n number of factors. If we take the example of roti, as we said, what is my raw material, my procurement price in the next year, the wage price, my consumption quantity, my minimum order quantity, any efficiencies or fixed price if they are going to increase. So I will have to consider all those aspects, and then I will have to decide my next year's cost. And then I have to decide, okay, if my next year's cost is going to increase by 1 rupee, what will be the margin I will add to it, and at what selling price I should sell it the next year. So I hope this is giving a little understanding of how with the costing we can be little future oriented. and not just current.
Absolutely. I think Rupa, very important points mentioned by you that how it's important for us to be future oriented, because I think somewhere we miss these components to consider when we're calculating the cost. And I think these are real an eye opener for I think all of us, where what components and what small things that really matter, and not only matter but they affect the cost, and how we need to look at considering those as well, so us to derive the right cost. So I think these are really important ones, and really, I mean, they are the eye opener. So thank you so much for this. Yeah.
Thank you, Swapna. My pleasure. So yeah, I mean, with that, if we move to the next now, uh, what we get out of all this? So, ladies and all of gentlemen, I mean, I would say from this experience of roti making, whatever we saw the components, I would really want you all to relate them to whatever business setups you have. It can be a manufacturing industry setup or it could be a service industry setup, right? But the components somehow remain the same or they are relatable. Of course, with the service industry, the cost components differ from that of a manufacturing industry. You do not have directly raw materials there. You have there the labor cost or the personal cost or the salaries that you pay to your employees is a component which plays a higher role than that of a manufacturing industry. So, but what I wanted to say is we started with very basic, which is the process of roti making, wherein we saw what all were the components, wherein we saw how every form gets converted from one form to another, and at every stage, the cost you start incurring, right? And how all these costs you need to add up to get to the price, to the final price. So I would surely say it's not that difficult and it's not that easy to relate it, but surely possible to understand and match the concept to your entrepreneurship or your business. So with that, I think we should also do a small round of summarization with tickling our brains of what we went through. So Swapna, if we can proceed to the next slide, please. So I would really encourage answers to these questions, and maybe you can read them for me if possible. So yeah, my first question is, why do we need to know the cost?
So, Rupa, I think yes, our audience is definitely keen to answer these questions, and I think one feedback that I could read is basically basic. It's trying to say that unless you don't know the cost, probably you will not be able to understand uh, uh, where are you really standing, or what's the position that you have. So, or how, or is it a profitable venture for you or no? So I think that could be one of the core areas, and why you need to really know the cost, right, of your product, and at what price that you need to sell it in the market, so that it makes you stay relevant as well as competitive in the market. So I think that's one feedback that I have received as of now, that the audience feel that this is very important to the cost, because this can help them to stay relatable and competitive in the market.
Very true.
Yeah.
And just to add an aspect there, Swapna, is
Hmm.
cost always helps you to know what is your return on investment. So whatever I have put on my money inside, what is I'm getting from outside, and that helps you to take further decision as which opportunity should I grab. So is my return of investment higher with opportunity A or is it higher with opportunity B? So it can be
Correct.
two different products. It can be also two different process of manufacturing. Now if we all speak about automation, right? So why do
Yes.
I need not use a roti maker? Why do I need to use manual? So that is one level of improvement. Why do I need to use a pan or gas as a fuel? Can I reduce the cost of gas as a fuel by using an induction, whatever we say, that the induction electricity unit?
Yeah.
So these are certain thoughts. If I come to know what is my breakup, I also start thinking as where and how I can reduce those.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I mean that's really wonderful inputs, Rupa. I think very, very important ones. And I can see that, your third question is also the question which has come from the audience, that how can they stay or how can they be cost effective. So I think audience already has started thinking on those lines, that, what are the components that they need to consider for them to be cost effective, because so I think if you yourself could throw us some light and guide our audience, that, what are those components that we need to consider to be more relevant and be more cost effective in our ventures. So that will be really guiding.
So, as we said, the entire circle or the cycle first starts knowing my cost. That is the first basic thing. And then it starts like, cost being cost effective is like a sort of habit. If you exercise daily, is then when you reduce and you come into shape,
Right.
right? If I do
Right.
it just one fine day, it can't happen. So, being cost effective is really something which we need to make it as a habit. As we said, what are my cost components? So can I be effective in that 80% of my cost component or in my 20% of the cost component? We also spoke about different types of spends. That is my capital expenditure, recurring expenditure, my fixed cost, and my variable cost. Now variable cost, something is that, as I gave an example, it's my atta, the water.
Hmm.
How much I prepare
Yeah.
is what I will use it. But fixed cost is something. Now if we take an example of a manufacturing unit, the electricity is something which is a major fixed cost. So
Right.
many organizations are really very vigilant of how we use it, electricity viably. I mean, the utility cost, how it is being used, what is my per electricity consumption unit. That is what they are glued on, I would say. So that is one way of creating efficiency. The other way of efficiency is, so capital expenditure or the new investments which we make in our organizations, it is something from the revenue of the margin which we have generated. The profit which I earn is something I will invest back in my business, right? And then I need to know that, can I be cost efficient by making my process more automated? It will help me reduce the cost which I'm paying as a salary to my people for a longer duration. But of course, in what period of time will I get the ROI if I invest today in any automation or any capital expenditure? So these are certain ways of I would say being cost efficient.
Fantastic. That's really nice. So, Rupa, I had a question. Was wondering that, if you could just tell us a little more about, uh, any particular strategies that you would recommend, that, as a startup or as a woman entrepreneur, we should look and look at having a control on, or can be on reducing the costs. So, any strategies that you would really want women entrepreneurs to consider when it's in the business or in the startup, that could help them to. Yeah.
So as I said, Swapna, I think in many of the entrepreneurships which I have seen, some of the entrepreneurships, see, costing is considered sometimes, as assumption based. Okay. Of course, it is assumption based. So we don't go into details. Many times I have
Right.
observed that. So, okay, if it is 10 rupees and Hindi we say कि मोटा मोटी बोलो कितना है.
Right.
But the strategy I will say is, if you make it more disciplined. Secondly, I mean, as I said, if you make it more disciplined, you understand where I'm spending it. And my second thought to it is that being future oriented, that would be really a basic costing strategy, because many
Okay.
times we are into what is my current cost, how
Hmm.
much am I spending today, but
Hmm.
that thought process of what is my next 5 years vision, right? If I
Right.
have to be cost competitive in the next 5 years, where I want to reach, and if I have to be cost competitive in the next year, what should be my per unit price? How much should be my reduction in per unit price? That is something which is not thought. So
Right.
basically, the best strategy for costing is go back calculations. So
Okay.
my top line for the next 5 years is, say I have to increase it by 30% or 40%. then what should be my cost? So go backwards and be future oriented is what I would say.
True, true. I mean, very important points mentioned, because I think this will really help women entrepreneurs to start looking at a holistic picture of their, you know, of their setup or their startup or their entrepreneur journey, because I think these are the very key components. Of course, the other things comes, our knowledge, skills, everything is there, but I think costing is something which, you know especially all of us, not women but even men today, face that kind of issues, and I think these are very very important components. Rupa, we have one question coming in from the audience, and they are asking us about the if they would want some guidance on the challenges probably they would they would face, when trying to manage the cost. So they would want to understand that how is it that they would or you could guide them in overcoming these challenges, because yeah, that is one component that even I as a person would want to understand, that we might face a lot of challenges when it comes to managing costs. We might feel that okay, this could be a priority, that could be a priority, and it's at times it's all confusing and jumbling, and we feel everything is a priority and everything may not be a priority. But then how do you guide it? How do we come to the right thing, or rather how can we avoid the situations or look at overcoming these kind of challenges when it comes to cost allocations?
So I'll say a very basic thing is please approach cost accountants because they help as
Uh-huh.
they do the cost audits, they develop the cost sheets for the industries. Of course, people who have nothing, they have no structure in their organization and they're just starting. Yeah. So as I told you, I had an experience as a consultant in one of a dye manufacturing industry where it was like very basic. So as I said, the word which I used, on assumption basis, it used to happen like that. But then as I entered, we built a structure to the madness wherein we found out, okay, where are you spending, what to be done. So my suggestion would be to start off with uh, and to get validated, really approach cost accountants. I mean, you can visit. Of course, I can share with Divya some and you, Swapna, some
Mm-hmm.
contacts of the cost and management accountants group. These
Right.
people can be approached and they can really help you understand. Okay, what are the different costs you have? They have a relative idea of working in different industries or similar industries also. So yeah, that could be one of the basic things to start with. If one has no background about it at all.
Wow, fantastic. Yes, certainly. I think very rightly said, because since this is one component that not everyone is aware of. So I think yes, these expertise of cost accountants would certainly come handy and would come of a great help for all of us. Not only men but even women, but even men entrepreneurs too. When you're looking at startup and when looking at your own entrepreneurial journey, I think these particular set of people will be the right kind of people who can guide us to the correct way, that how we could really look at achieving the desired results, keeping in mind the cost and considering the cost, that the money that would need, or the return of investments. And I think each calculations is what these expertise can really help us with. So a very important input here. And Rupa, Divya had shared one question that she wanted to ask, that what could be the variables that we need to modify with time as the business expands. So I think this is again a very important question to the women entrepreneurs who are like really looking at scaling up. And so this is one component that everyone would like to know, that what are the variables that we need to really consider when it comes to the expansion of the setup.
Okay. So expansion of a setup again, it comes with calculating of the return on investment. So to give an example, if today I am manufacturing 1000 units, but I plan my market demand says the need is for 5000 units, I see very less competitors for this product in the market. But so which means that I need to expand my capacity, right? That is the first trigger.
Right.
Now the point is how much I have money with me to invest. So that is the first. So it's basically the cost to benefit ratio or the cost to benefit analysis is what we call it as. So I know that there is a demand in the market. I know that my production capacity is less. So to fill the gap, I need to expand. Now I need to understand the cost benefit analysis. That is, if I go with approach A, what is the cost I'm applying or what is the cost I'm putting versus what is the benefit I will be getting in how many years. And then
Right.
if I go to approach B, the same way. So cost, when I say cost, it was also capital expenditure sort of cost, like buying of the machinery, repairs and maintenance of the machinery, all that comes the ancillary cost. So we need to foresight what is my one-time expenditure and what will be my recurring expenditure as the cost. And as the benefit, I need to know how much of incremental capacity I'm generating. So by buying a new machinery, am I creating I mean, I can produce more 2000 units or 3000 units. What is the value I will generate out of that new machinery which I'm buying? So, the cost to benefit analysis is something which we always keep in mind when we go for any expansion ideas.
Lovely. I mean,
Hope
these are
that
these are
helps.
absolutely. I mean, really fantastic and really valuable insights, Rupa. I think this session has been really an eye opener on so many fronts and on so many uh, areas, especially when it came to the financial costing. So I think. This has been a really eye-opening session for all the members and even to the people who's listening us out there. I think it's been a really important and a very valuable session indeed. So yes, I mean, I think I mean, I'm really overwhelmed with the kind of information today I've really got, and I think there's lots food for thought which is there today, and I think a lot of people amongst us are going to redo the entire thing because now that we really know the important components that needs to be considered, and rather which could have been missed out in the past, and now what we need to really look at. I think it will give us really good clarity and uh, good I think a clear view more about the entire working of our entrepreneurship uh, venture. So I think that's really important, and I think with this I can of course, if you have something more to add, Rupa, please add it from your side. And
Yeah, I would like to say, Swapna, firstly, I think I have just touched upon the surface. Costing is really in depth and it's interesting.
yes.
Of course, as I said, I mean, all Indians are good in costing. So I'm sure that, I mean, all of us, and especially the women, as I said, we relate very much to the kitchen. So costing, I always say that
Yes.
it starts with the kitchen. You
Yes.
prepare anything, you see the raw materials to conversion there, and this is quite a surface. But I would surely, I mean, of course, even I am available for any more information if you need. But I would really suggest to have connects with cost accountants, understand, or maybe even self effort makes it worthwhile to understand what are your costs, especially when you are into entrepreneurship, because
Right.
once you develop that cost mindset, you will never compromise on that. And
Right.
I mean, you will know what is the amount or percentage of leeway I need to take whenever I take any
Yes.
decision. It's
Yes.
that's what
Yes.
it is.
Yeah, because I think that's really important because at times we don't really consider the hidden cost that comes, and probably it's done with this at the spur of the moment, and then it may have a big hit, and maybe, and then it's a little too late to realize that okay, that's a mistake and it's already been done. So I think but at times you need to even look at these costs. But I think if you already budgeted, or if you already consider those costs in your entire thing, so that it becomes easier and more a comfortable situation for
Yes.
everyone. So I think these are very important topics, and I think it's a big thank you from all of us to you, especially for taking out so much of your valuable time and really sharing with us in these very important points. I think yes, all of us today are taking back a lot of information with us, and yes, I think all of us are really thanking you for bringing this up today, because that's going to be real eye opener. So yes, with this, I think once again I really thank you for your time, and I also take this opportunity to thank the team of VWC,
Indeed.
our founder Kadambari, our chairman Dr. Abdul Manaf, and of course, our VWC President Divya Shriram, and the team who was putting this efforts to bring these wonderful expert sessions to all of us and giving us this kind of valuable information. So thank you again, team, and thank you once again, Rupa. Thank you so much. It was wonderful
Thank
interacting
you.
with you.
Same
Thank
here,
you.
Swapna. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Thanks
Thank
to
you.
you.
Thanks.
Bye.